Good afternoon. This is the Schools for Advanced Studies Spring Coordinator Training. And of course, it's coming to you by the Gifted Talented Programs Advanced Learning Options. And we are in the Office of the Chief of Special Education, Equity and Specialized Programs Office. I am Rossiana Force. I'm a district specialist. I support Schools for Advanced Studies. I'm also going to go into detail kind of what all of the roles in our office, all the people in the roles in our office do. But today I have with me Kevin Kilpatrick, district coordinator. I'm going to go ahead and let him say hello.
Good afternoon. Glad you guys are here. I'm representing local district South, soon to be Region South, and I help with data, technology, and SAS.
And then also in the room today, I was going to get to her when we get to her slide, but actually I'm going to see if she can come on and just introduce herself since she's in the room and we're doing introductions. Laura Interiano is one of our designated GATE psychologists.
Hi, everyone. I'm Laura. As Rossiana mentioned, I'm a designated GATE psychologist. Please feel free to reach out to me or some of my other colleagues. I'll put my information in the chat for you if you need any support with anything regarding Schools for Advanced Studies.
And then just for logistics, we will not be taking attendance today via any form or anything. The way we take attendance is through Zoom Analytics. So you logged in with your single sign-on, and that's how we know that you are here and staying for the duration of the meeting. Here is our agenda and objectives for today. We have a two-part because the second part is not applicable to affiliated charter schools or admission criteria schools. So at that time, we will let you go. But if you do have questions, you can either stay the duration or you can come back maybe 10 minutes prior to the end. So part one is for all SAS sites. We're going to revisit SAS goals and the 2022-2026 strategic plan metrics. That's from the fall meeting that we had. Meeting the Gifted and Talented Programs Advanced Learning Options team. So we're going to kind of introduce who you go to for what, in case you have any questions, specific questions about anything that we do in our office. What is exemplary GATE implementation, depth, complexity, novelty, and acceleration, spring SAS coordinator responsibilities, reporting SAS participation in MISIS, and the GATE SAS budget update. And then part two, again, when we let those of you that this does not pertain to go, unified enrollment choices timeline, late application and verification process, SAS capacity settings for 2023-2024, the SAS accept decline timeline, and quick look at principals portal screens, and then we'll get to Q&A. I'll be doing part one, Kevin will be doing part two, Kevin, myself, and Laura will be doing the Q&A. So let's go ahead and talk about the SAS goals and strategic plan. Here is the GATE goal and SAS purpose: to identify gifted and talented students, including those from diverse racial, socioeconomic, linguistic, and cultural backgrounds, and provide high-quality differentiated opportunities for learning that develop students' unique abilities and talents. And the SAS purpose is to serve as demonstration centers at K-12 local schools of residence for equitable and exemplary GATE implementation. SAS sites must reflect the demographics of our district and serve as models for how to inclusively and effectively address the academic and social emotional needs of all types of learners, not just identified or high achieving learners. And we are featured in LAUSD's 2022-2026 strategic plan. And this is our Q2 GATE SAS update. We're in pillars 1 and pillar 4. So in pillar 1, our measure of success was that by June 2023, we would increase the district-wide percentage of students identified for gifted and talented education programs to 13%. And just an update that our target was met at 13.33% in January 2023. And again, both of these are huge thank yous to you guys doing all of the work out there for identification, referral, flagging. All of that data is captured, and we are now being featured for our data, of course, with the strategic plan. And for pillar 4, our measure of success was that by June 2023, we will designate 3 new sites, SAS sites, each in regions East and South. We are currently on track. We did outreach to 40 potential sites. 18 are interested in pursuing the off-cycle SAS designation, and we're going to be having meetings with them to kind of see if they are going to be a good fit and they want to follow through. and to increase district-wide SAS participation by 5% to 17,500. The target was met, or it was actually exceeded to 18,281 students in January of 2023. And again, both of those targets, the 13.33% and then 18,281 students, are all thanks to you and the hard work that you are doing. So thank you so much. Just to revisit those fall goals that we kind of talked about in the fall, it was Erin who spoke about these 4 buckets: marketing, verification of eligibility, MISIS SAS reporting, and GATE PD and instruction. For marketing purposes, we still do have ongoing late applications going in, and we still have students who are looking for a school or families that are looking for a school. So it's really great to make sure that you're keeping your marketing up to date. So possible goals for yourself in marketing might be a great idea for the spring. Verification of eligibility is ongoing. Again, with those late applications coming in, we thank you for doing all of the verification already as of January. And so moving forward, kind of looking at what can a goal be for spring in terms of verification of eligibility. The same thing for MISIS SAS reporting. What might be a possible goal for the spring and SAS reporting? And for GATE PD and instruction, what can a goal be for spring for your school site? Again, in terms of what this might look like, we are looking forward to the fact that we have the annual GATE report coming up, and GATE PD is very, very highlighted in the annual GATE report. So looking at how you might be able to collect all of your verification or those logs for PD, how you might ensure that all of your school sites are getting all the PD, just kind of thinking about all of these buckets in terms of what goals you might be able to set for yourself. And maybe it's not all 4, maybe it's 1, maybe it's 2, and maybe it's all 4. So just kind of revisiting this from the fall. We wanted to make sure and highlight our team in terms of what we do in the office. And again, just please note that the GATE department is now under the Office of the Chief of Special Education, Equity and Specialized Programs. And we have made a few shifts, and you will see that in our staff list here in just a second. So first of all, Erin Yoshida Ehrman is now our interim director. Because she's an interim director, she's also wearing multiple hats to make sure that the flow of our department stays. So she's wearing the hat of interim director, but she's still balancing a lot of her coordinator duties. And one of the hugest ones is being the Schools for Advanced Study bucket. So she's still at point for Schools for Advanced Studies, including the 5-year and off-cycle site designation implementation, unified enrollment and choices for SAS, the verification of eligibility process for SAS and Gifted Magnet, equitable and strategic enrollment for GATE and SAS. Her email is on the screen, but before you email, please check the SAS webpage, as we might have information that is readily available to you. Kevin Kilpatrick, who is here today with us, and he said hello earlier. His expertise is GATE data systems, and here are a couple of additional things that he does in our office: the SAS Unified Enrollment Technical Support, including SAS reporting and MISIS, SAS capacity setting, and choices SAS accept decline processes, all of those processes that have to do with any type of portal. Kevin is at point, and I know a lot of you reach out to him for support and making sure that that is all correct. GATE data systems, MISIS, principals portal, etc. Adding or deleting names from the GATE listserv, online virtual professional development, not including the GATE bites. He is at point for Region South for general GATE support. And his email's on the screen, but before registering, Kevin does a great job of having a lot of his technical trainings be available in MyPLN, so you might want to check MyPLN to see if there is one readily available to you. You can also come to our SAS anchor sessions to ask additional questions as well. This is me. I am Rossina Force. I'm a district specialist. My expertise is GATE, PD, and instructional technology. The first bullet is instructional technology. The second is GATE professional development, including GATE salary point classes, online virtual professional development, and large-scale events, including the Fall Symposium and Spring Summit, SAS support, including SAS anchor sessions, the LAUSD UCSD certification program, GATE SAS Schoology groups. I am at point for general GATE support for Region West. I am at point for virtual academies and City of Angels independent study, again for general GATE support. My email is on the screen, but before you email, we have a lot of information on our website, especially surrounding GATE professional development, and the webpage is on the slide. Susanna Farfari, district coordinator. Her expertise is parents and VAPA. She does GATE parent family engagement, including GATE SAS parent conference, parent trainings, parent newsletter, and student focus groups, visual and performing arts demonstrations and auditions, twice exceptional learners, GATE local control and accountability plan, and she's at point for Region North for general GATE support. Her email's on the screen, but again, before you email, go ahead and check the GATE parent resources. We have a lot of resources on our website. Dr. Nicole Niederdeppy, district coordinator. Her expertise is conservatory and VAPA. She does the GATE Saturday Conservatory of Fine Arts, visual and performing arts demonstrations and auditions, the annual GATE report, the fall and spring GATE coordinator trainings, GATE coordinator differential inquiries, including interoffice correspondence. She's at point for general GATE support with Region East. Her email is on the screen, but again, before you email, we have lots of policy documents and district communications that cover a lot of what she does in our office. Winnie Wong Chang is also a district coordinator. Her expertise is intellectual ability, high achievement, OLSAT 8, gifted identification, the OLSAT 8 administration. She supports all regional offices with identification. Before you email Winnie, her email is on the screen. Please review relevant identification policies under district communications page. And Michelle Papazian, which we are actually going to be changing this slide because Michelle Papazian has just got promoted to district coordinator. So we want to congratulate Michelle for the coordinator position. Her expertise is CALA, HA, High Achievement, Specific Academic, and the TIP program. She does identification and creative and leadership ability categories, identification and high achievement ability, not including the OLSAT 8, and specific academic ability category, the targeted identification program, and the Pascal program. Her email is on the screen, but again, before you email, please review the relevant identification policy documents under district communications. We also have a very, very large team of designated GATE psychologists who really are doing a lot of the bulk of the work with all of those identifications at the school site. Laura Interiano, who is a designated GATE psychologist, she's actually, we kind of made her specific to our SAS team, and we have a couple of additional designated GATE psychologists that are also specific to our SAS team. So in addition to doing identification, they're also supporting schools for advanced studies as well. So what they do is intellectual ability referrals, including submitting reassessment requests, testing inquiries, including test schedule and prepping for test day, the targeted identification program, and as well as, like I said, some of them have additional duties, such as supporting schools for advanced studies. So we talked about all of the experts in our office and who to go to if you need support in our office, but let's think about who are the experts at your school. So you, of course, are one of your experts at your school as the SAS coordinator or designee. So how can you help your teachers? So one thing is to share the GATE professional development options. Another is to attend the GATE professional development and facilitate school site GATE professional development with teachers with an emphasis on high quality differentiated instruction and equitable access, and empower teachers by showing them where and how to find GATE resources. And how can your teachers help you? So they're the experts in their classroom. So the way they can support you is to be gifted detectives, screen and refer students for gifted and talented identification, including from targeted student populations, twice exceptional, able underachieving, and others. They can serve on the GATE screening committee for you. They can share their passions and instructional expertise through GATE SAS teacher trainings, professional book clubs, parent trainings, website enrichment opportunities, etc. And all of that can be captured in your annual GATE report under the professional development. So what does this look like? What does exemplary GATE implementations at our schools for advanced studies look like? And in just a moment, I'm going to invite your virtual voices into the room via the chat, because I am preaching to the choir. I'm going to be asking you, what does that look like at Schools for Advanced Studies? But you are the Schools for Advanced Studies, and therefore I'm going to ask you what that looks like at your school site. So here is what we message out as exemplary GATE implementation, which is at the heart of our SAS school sites: differentiated instruction, equitable identification, verification, and participation, district GATE choices option, GATE professional development, and demonstration sites for GATE best practices. So here is where it's your turn. So when we think about equitable and exemplary GATE implementation, other than that last bullet, there are three hows. How do we walk the walk? How do we ensure SAS teachers are maintaining? How can we make this this differentiation more explicit? I want you to think about, again, because we're asking these questions, but I want you to think about how you're already doing this at your school site. We're going to kind of open this up as a waterfall in the chat so that we're looking at each other's ideas and possibly networking with each other. So if there's an idea that somebody says, and maybe that's something you would like to do at your school, we would love for you to reach out and network with that school. So I'm going to give you just a second to go ahead and think about these questions and put in what you are already doing at your school site that might answer some of these questions. Okay, thank you. We're starting in the chat. Thank you so much. Good communication between grade level teachers, STEM in the classroom, PBL, GATE PDs, collaboration, depth and complexity icons, Genius Hour, project-based learning. And as I said, and I'm going to kind of refer to this multiple times during this presentation, you are the SAS school sites. And therefore, when we're asking these questions, we know that you have some of these answers. And I'm going to keep deferring to you as our highlighted amazing GATE implementation schools that you are. Collaborative groups, using prompts and depth and complexity in daily instruction, providing choices in student projects and tasks. You can keep going in the chat, and again, connect with each other if you find something that really resonates with you and you would like more information on. I'm going to move to the next slide. Oh, before I move on, just kind of highlighting, remember, differentiation means different work, such as content, process, and product, based on academic readiness, interest, and learning style, not just more of the same work. And unfortunately, as I'm sure that you have heard or you know, there are schools and there are some teachers that still have this misconception that GATE students need to just have more work, a longer essay to write, and that is not what they should be doing. They should be doing more in-depth work in the same amount of time that a resident student is able to do other work. Now, here are some additional questions for you to kind of think about. And again, we'll do the same thing, waterfall in the chat as you see fit. How would your staff respond to these parent questions? And now, the reason we pose this question in this manner is because you might not be thinking about the way that your staff are messaging it out. You might have the answers, but sometimes your staff doesn't. Sometimes those that are answering the phones don't have this answer. And we get a lot of calls from parents asking these different questions. And of course, we have the answers in our office. But how might your staff respond? Or how might you want your staff respond to these? And think about that. And if they aren't responding, how might you be able to support them in responding to these questions in the appropriate manner? So take one moment to just read through these. And again, in the waterfall, highlight what you are doing at your school site or how you would like to implement this. Okay, so we have that there are a lot of new teachers this year. Might need to be doing a short PD on how to answer parent questions. That's a great strategy. Project-based learning, differentiation, formative assessments, collaborative learning, restorative practices, small groups, math academies, differentiation in products. Instruction is different through tiered assessments and core subject areas. GATE strategies to provide rigor, PBL, parent workshops. Now, you can keep going in the chat, and I'm going to kind of add a little bit to these parent questions. We had a school reach out and ask us, how might we message things out a little more clearly to parents? Because sometimes when you say, oh, we do tiered lessons in the classroom, a parent might not understand what the definition of tiered lessons is. So I'm going to give you this little nugget to put in your pocket if you would like to utilize it. I think a great way to message things out to parents in terms of defining is asking and defining it in these ways. What does it look like in the classroom? What does it sound like in the classroom? And what does it feel like in the classroom? So if you think about the way to describe that to parents, then that might be a great way to message that out a little bit more clearly. Just kind of wanted to leave you with that, with those questioning strategies for parents that you might want to use. Thank you so much for participating in the chat, all of those of you that did the waterfall. I really appreciate that. So I'm going to go into a couple of ideas, resources for the different GATE instructional strategies. But again, a lot of you already put these in the chat. So I'm preaching to the choir. So I'm going to go ahead and go over these quite quickly, just so that you have them as resources in your back pocket if you wanted to expand upon them. So differentiated instruction in terms of depth and complexity. Does it encourage critical thinking and creative thinking? Here are the prompts of depth and complexity. This presentation will be uploaded on the website for you, so you'll have all of these clickable downloads. The prompts of depth and complexity, such as the frames and retrieval charts, question and strategies and stems, like those from the Gifted Guilds, depth and complexity question stems by Ian Bird and Van Gimmert. GATE salary point classes are a great opportunity to practice how to embed depth and complexity. So again, these are just additional resources for you, so for either yourself or to bring back to your school site if you want to dig deeper into depth and complexity. Acceleration, so pre-assessments to determine academic readiness, interest, and learning styles. Tiered lessons, curriculum compacting, individual or small group instruction, and again, giving you some resources. Are both of these slides a couple things that you've already said in the chat? Well, yes, you did, because you are SAS school sites. Novelty, pre-assessments to determine academic readiness, interest, and learning styles. Novel products, both digital and non-digital. Choice boards on interest and learning style, project-based learning, and independent study. So we wanted to highlight building capacity through GATE professional development. All of our teachers need that support in terms of building capacity, especially those that are newer. I know that one of you said that you have new teachers at your school site, and yes, they definitely need possibly a more focused introductory professional learning on this. Educators need specialized professional development to meet the unique and complex cognitive, academic, and social emotional needs of gifted learners from diverse backgrounds. GATE professional development policies, forms, training flyers, and fieldwork resources are posted on the GATE website under Educators Corner. There's a lot of resources there. And please share our brand new professional development opportunity, Creativity Infusion, with Lisa Van Gimmert with your team. All of this can be found in my PLN for registration. I'm now going to hand it over to Kevin Kilpatrick to talk about SAS coordinator responsibilities and SAS anchor sessions and take us through the rest of the presentation.
All right, thank you very much. As an SAS coordinator, what are the things that you need to do in your job when you're wearing that hat? So the coordinator responsibilities we listed here: adhere to all policies and expectations of schools for advanced studies, monitor communication via our gate listserv, you're automatically on that. Your SAS Schoology group, I believe most of you have joined. If you haven't, we will make sure you do. Report SAS participation in MISIS. The deadline was in December. We have met our goal, so a lot of you have done that, and we'll go over a little more of that later. Provide information to your families, virtual tours, websites, parent meetings, your social media, brochures, etc. Report and verify projected number of seats for SAS capacity. That was something that just happened this month, and we'll go over that a little bit later as well. That deadline was last week. This does not apply to affiliated charters, though. Accept and decline students in the parent portal, or the principal's portal, not the parent portal, the principal's portal, beginning in March. And this also doesn't apply to affiliated charters, although they do accept and decline. They do it as a whole school and as a charter. And we're also requiring you to attend these SAS coordinator trainings and other optional ones you can do as well, anchor sessions and technical training. Next slide. All right, a little more in depth with reporting to MISIS. Basically, you are putting a flag or a mark on your student in MISIS saying, yes, they are at our school, and yes, they are participating in SAS. You tell us whether they're a resident student or non-resident student, and if they are, what the criteria they are, whether they're a verified student or identified gifted. This data helps us ensure that we cluster and instruct our students effectively, and it also tells us district-wide how we're doing with SAS students and where they are in accordance with all our targeted populations. We want you to report this data annually, and the deadline is always the last Friday before we go on winter break. And there's a memo there, you can always look at that. This does not mean you can't flag students throughout the entire year, which we ask you to do, but that's when we want to get most of them flagged before the end of the calendar year. And we do have job aids with step-by-step instructions on our MISIS webpage. Next slide. All right, affiliated charters with an SAS designation. I said this doesn't apply to you, but you still have to do a lot of things for SAS. And they do accept and decline. And in the choices brochure, you are advertised as a charter school and as an SAS designation. Some of you do carry on that coordinator job for the charter as well. You may wear many hats, but if you want information about your charter school, they do have their own Schoology group, and there's the code right there to join that group. And the information for the district coordinator in contact is Michael Kessler. He's very good and supportive, and if you need any help with your school and affiliated charter as it pertains to enrollment, you can contact him. Next slide. Anchor sessions we've been doing every Thursday. At this same time, we're doing it today. So today we did not have an anchor session because we're having this training. And we have usually 5 to 8 coordinators show up. It's pretty short. We present what's highlights are going on that week and answer any questions. We do a little tech in a minute. Sometimes we have some raffles and some giveaways. You never know what we're going to do when you come in, but it's pretty informal, and you're all welcome to come on every Thursday, 3:30 to 4:30. You don't have to come the whole time. You can come in the middle, whatever you feel like. We post a schedule and the things we're going to highlight that week in the Schoology group, and there's the access code. Next slide. All right, GATE and SAS funding. Next slide. So coordinator gate differential. As a coordinator, you are supposed to get a differential each semester. That funding, there is no gate fund. There's no SAS fund for this. It should come out of your school's LCFF. That is something that they should plan on in the spring. So when budgeting comes along, make sure your administrator knows that you need to get that differential as the SAS coordinator. Now, as many of you do, you wear several hats and could get a differential for several jobs. and the district only allows you to get one differential or one job. You can't do multiple. There's other ways to support. They can allocate funds for you to get some extra time, Z time, extra days at the beginning of the year, end of the year for enrolling, for going to magnet fairs and choices enrollment fairs, etc. So those are something you need to work out with your principal. And if you have some questions, we do have some information on our website, or you can contact us and we can see what we can do to help you with that. But you should be getting a differential. Every gate coordinator, including SAS. Next slide. All right. This year we try to give you a budget every year for SAS schools. We never know where that money is going to come from. Last year we were able to get some money to pay your teachers and you and your administrators some money to take PD, and again we were able to get that budget money again. We set that up. Basically, we gave everybody 10 hours minimum of teacher PD. So you can pay 10 teachers 1 hour, 2 teachers 5 hours, however you guys want to break it up. That money has been sent to your school and is available now. And then we additionally added funding based on the number of students you had flagged in LICES. So schools with more SAS students would get more funding than schools with no fewer SAS students. So that was how we did our funding. And if you don't haven't seen this or heard this, make sure you contact your whoever's in charge of the budget and paying at your school so you can figure out how much money is in the budget and how you want to disperse that. And if you need help, you can contact us. But it can be used for all kinds of different gate professional learning activities, art on my PLN, book clubs, working together, planning as a staff, as long as the principal signs off on it and it is gate and SAS appropriate. But it can't be used for the differential, and it can't be used for any kind of gate related purchases or instructional materials. All right, next slide. All right, this is where the affiliated charters, you guys can go on your way. We appreciate you coming. If you're an affiliated charter at ACS, which we do have one, and Harvard Teacher Prep is here, you guys are good. You can stay, you're welcome to stay or come back for Q&A later, but you guys are good for now. So thank you, and we'll move on to part 2. All right, Unified Enrollment Choices Timeline. Next slide. All right, this is this year's choices timeline. We had our on-time window in October, November. We sent confirmation corrector letters in December. The late choices application window opened up on February 1st of this year, and that continues to be open all the way until the 4th week of next school year in the fall. Program eligibility letters went out last week. We had quite a few parents couldn't figure out why they weren't ineligible. We had some errors on our part, and we fixed those. And some were just surprises to the parents, and they may come back and do late applications and try to get verified again. And selection waiting list letters will be sent out on March 13th. And I can go into detail on that later. And then the window for on-time selection ends on April 7th. So people will be offered spots at one or more schools, and they will have a 4-week period where they can accept or decline those. And if they don't accept by the deadline, then they lose their spot everywhere. But they can only hold a spot at one school at one time, except for that window where they have a chance to make a decision. Next slide. So late choices applications and SAS verification process. Very important because it's not like the on time. Next slide. So the late choices application period opened on February 1st. So people are putting in late choices into your schools. They are being put in the order that they are received. So somebody who applies on February 1st is ahead of somebody who applies on February 2nd. These late applications don't affect their on-time application. They just get in line behind all the on-time selected and waitlist students. And you can apply as many schools as you want. One application, one school. I've seen students that have applied to 18 schools. And I already said they're in the order they're received. Now, verification of eligibility forms for students from private schools, independent charters, and non-LAUSD schools have to be directly submitted to your site now. They don't come to us, they go to your site. And they only have to provide it when and if you offer the seat. So they don't have to go get it and wait and hope they get called. We don't want to be, chasing those out around if they don't know they're going to be there. And those verification sheets have to come directly from the school that it's filling it out to your school. So it's better to wait when you offer a spot to give them some time to get that verification done and sent to you. Now, for currently enrolled LA Unified students, verification occurs through articulation with the sending school. So you contact that school principal or SAA or gate coordinator, and they will do it through email, and they can just tell you they meet the criteria on attachment B or they don't. Next slide. Okay, during the application process, district applicants, including Virtual Academy City of Angels, only have to be verified when the seat becomes available. So you have to communicate and talk to the other school. You do not have to have them fill out a form. Do not send district kids with that late form and make the other school fill it out. All they have to do is send you an email, do attachment B, and the sending school holds attachment B. They don't have to send it to you. Non-district private schools and independent charters, if and when a gifted magnet site contacts them about the available seat, then the verification has to be provided. And you'll have to give them time so the parent can request it from the non-district school and have them sent directly back to your site. It should not be sent to us since we don't do the late verification process. And there's forms available at those links right there. Next slide. Now, verification eligibility during the late application process for applicants not enrolled in preschool or TK. They need to contact us at the gate at lausd.net to request information regarding late verification for students not enrolled. So this is only for incoming kindergartners who are not in a school. So we can do the verification in our office, but they have to contact us. And that may take a little longer. So if you see any on your list, then you might get to them. You might want to contact the parent and start the process in advance. Now, if the student is homeschooled but affiliated with an organization like an independent charter homeschool, they can do the same verification eligibility you would as if it was a private school or independent charter. But if they do not have a verifying organization, they must do the same thing. They need to email us, and we set up a verification process, and it takes a little while, but we can do that in Spanish or English. And there's information available at that link. Next slide. Capacity, that was going on for the last few weeks. Next slide. So capacity is basically you telling us, your school, saying, this is how many students we have or how many seats we have available in our school for non-resident students who meet SAS criteria. Now that's a decision you and your principal and administrator make. Some schools have no room. So 0 is a perfectly good answer, saying we don't have seats for a specific grade level. Sometimes you have more seats one year than they do the next year. So we're asking you to look at your ECAS, which is basically ECAS is how schools guess how many kids they will have next year and how many teachers they should have, etc. And you guys are responsible for submitting that by February 17th. Not all schools submitted by the deadline. They were sent reminders this week. A few more have caught up. Still have some that have not given me anything, so their capacity will be set at 0 unless I hear otherwise. And the Google form is now closed. So if anybody has any questions about capacity, needs to make an emergency change or add it, contact me via email. You can email me, call me, but if you email me, CC your principal or administrator so I know that this is what you guys want to do. Next slide. All right, we can skip over this because the Google form is no longer there, but it was pretty easy to fill out. You put your name and cost center, etc. on the grade level. You can skip the next slide, and the next one, and the next slide. All right, when setting the capacity, you need to make sure you know how many spots you have, and don't overestimate. It's better to underestimate. Once we do the selection process, you can go, hey, I have more room than I thought. Can you raise my capacity? Yes, we can. But residential students have to have their seats, have to be accommodated. If you take students in open enrollment or other permits, account for those before you give away the SAS seats. We did have an occasion where a school took in 4 kindergartners, realized they had no kindergarten spots and wanted to relinquish them, but we'd already given them away. So those students had to get their spots, and they were starting to do a lottery for resident students. So be careful before you give any spots away that you have them to give away. Next slide. All right. Overview SAS accept decline process. That's the next thing on our list that we're going to do starting next month. So you may need some reminders or training on how to do this. So I do have some training coming along. I will do an overview right now to give you an idea of what it is. Next slide. So we did the timeline. The deadline for the capacity, the selection letters are going to do that. They're already running selection right now. The parents will get their selection letter. It'll say, yes, you're selected at school, or you are waitlisted. Parents start accepting and declining online. You do not have to do anything. The parents can do this themselves. So you may have given 5 kindergarten spots to your school, 5 students were selected, 4 said, yay, we're in and accept. 1 says, oh, I got into a magnet and the SAS. I want to go to the magnet. They say yes to the magnet, automatically declines the SAS. Now you have 1 open spot in your kindergarten. And you can contact the person at the top of the list for kindergarten that may be a waitlist student or a late list student, but most likely a waitlist student, and say, hey, would you like to come? We have an open spot now. And then you can accept them. So, and if you have parents that get to that close to that April 7th deadline and it still says pending, you can contact them and say, hey, make sure you make your decision. Otherwise, you're going to lose your spot. And it's okay to do that. So if a parent selects any program, the others automatically decline. They can only hold a spot in 1 school, not in several. And you can contact the students accepted at your school to go, this is how you enroll, this is our next steps, etc. And it's always good to have emails ready to go. We do have some form emails in the Schoology group that you can use to email all these different responses in accept decline. So once we get past the deadline, you can look at how many spots you have. You may be able to call kids off the wait list and the late list until space is available, all the way until the 23-24 school year, 4 weeks in. So that's basically a week before norm day. It's the last day you can enroll in the students. And remember, you're responsible for verifying students applying through the late application. Now, a student was verified previously on time and did a late application to you, and they're already verified, that should show up in the system, so you would not have to verify them, and would be already verified. Next slide. Okay, when you go to the principal portal, you need to have access to this. Principal makes you the gate designee for your school. In the principal portal, you automatically have access to unified enrollment, which is in the principal portal. And if you need a refresher, I will have trainings on how to do this. So you go to SAS, next slide. And you click down and you want to look at your SAS application roster. Next slide. Oh, sorry, we went to SAS Quick Counts for enrollment capacity. You can do this now, and then we'll tell you how many on-time applications you've had this year already and how many late applications are already in the system. So you can look at that now and change it. This year says 2019-2020. It's an old slide, but you go to 23-24 and it'll tell you the on-time applications. Now there's a caveat to that number. On-time applications are students who chose your school first as their first choice only, and it doesn't tell you whether they were eligible or not. Because they could have chosen you and then found out later they were eligible. So it's not necessarily guaranteed they're going to you. And then late applications are already changing and adding as the year goes on. So it's very active, and you can see those as they change on a daily basis. And then you can see where the capacity is. Capacity should have been uploaded today. So if you look in, your capacity should be there. I will send a reminder email to principal saying that your capacity is now in the system. Please double check and make sure it's right. Next slide. Now, on the roster, the application roster, this shows all the students in your school. You must select what kind of list you are on, their status, which is pending, and the grade level, and then you will get a wait list, and it will put them in the order in which you should recommend them. And it will tell you whether it's on a selected student, a waitlist student, or a late student. It also tells you your status down below could be declined, accepted, or pending. And the waitlist rank is there. There's a number. Next slide. Once you click on the application number, you will come to this page of their full application. There's lots of information above this, but the very bottom part is the part that you need to work on, where it says office sheets only. And in this case, you are the office. So you have to fill this stuff out before you accept, decline a student. You put the communication, who you contacted, their relationship to the student, any notes, and your acceptance status. If you're changing it to accept, you can change it. You can change it to decline. You can change it. You may not need to change acceptance status. You maybe put offered spot to parent via email, waiting on response, and just put that in there as a communication. And then when you get to the acceptance status, if you do decline, there is an additional drop down, the reason they decline. That's just for information for us. Next slide. Also, if you're accepting a late student who is not verified or has not been verified or is not identified gifted yet, when you accept them, you need to put what their gifted code is. If they don't have one, it'll automatically get unverified. You'll have to put it changes to the need support criteria, which is attachment B, identified to gifted by us. Reading and math D9 is basically test scores. And sometimes students are not necessarily just identified gifted, they're also highly gifted. Next slide. All right, some important accept and decline tips. A parent or guardian must decide whether they want to accept or decline their offer to your school. Most of them will do it online. Do not accept or decline on a parent's behalf if you have not communicated explicitly with them and they have requested it. You cannot accept all the students that are on your selected list because just because you have the space, the parent may be accepted to several schools and they haven't made up their mind. So don't accept or decline, because once you accept them to your school, they decline anything else they had and they haven't made that decision on their own. And declines are permanent and they auto decline them. Now, person's next on your wait list, you must contact the next person on your wait list. You can see on the application that the student has already accepted another school. So you don't skip them because they accepted another school. You still need to offer them a spot because you may have been their first choice. So you want to give them the shot. If they say, no, we're very happy with the choice we had, then you decline them and go to the next one. But they may want to come to you. And you need to tell them, if you do accept us, the other spot you already accepted will automatically decline and you will lose that spot. So to make sure they know that. And if you can't get a hold of a parent off your wait list, you must contact them at least 3 times over at least 3 consecutive days. And I would suggest via email, phone call, etc., before you can decline them for non-communication. Next slide. So I have some trainings that I will go into this in depth. I set them up a little later because we will actually be able to see your accept and decline list so you can see what's going on. There's one on March 20th and March 27th. I will probably add 1 or 2 more because I've already noticed that 2 of them are very full. So I may add some more. So if you don't see one there, I'll add some more probably towards the end of this week. Next slide. All right, who can you contact for assistance? Here are all the people that we showed you at the very beginning of the presentation today. Here's our phone number, and there's our gate line. We're very proud of the fact, and some people can't believe it, that we do answer our phones. Very rarely do we send you to voicemail or put you on hold. We want to answer our phones. The only time you get voicemail from me is if I'm not there and doing a meeting such as I am now, then they would send you to my voicemail. So all that information is there. Next slide. Make sure you have all these access points set up for you as the SAS coordinator. You must be a gate manager in MISIS. You must be the designee for gate in the principal's portal. And you must check your MyPLN all the time for GATE classes. Join the Schoology groups. We have 3 different groups there. SAS, GATE Coordinator, and GATE Teachers Forum. Our website has over 50 pages of lots of information, so it's always good to bookmark that. And you can go to the Choices website. That helps too. There's lots of information about SAS and everything else right there in the Choices website. Next slide. You can stay connected with us. We're trying to do better with our social media. Some weeks it's better than other weeks. We try to keep up. We know our new superintendent loves his social media, so we need to keep up with him. Next slide. Thank you all for attending today. And we really appreciate everything you do for all our students and all the contributions you make to LAUSD and our GATE programs here in Los Angeles.